The decision-making self-assessment. The objective was to assist you to rate your own decision-making skills. We offered 5 simple multiple-choice questions. And the typical feedback we get is, 1, I don't agree with your explanations. 2, these are silly questions with no practical value in my day-to-day life. In this video, I will address both questions. If you are in the I don't agree with the explanations camp, simply post the question to ChatGPT and you'll see that my explanations are correct. Now, if you are one who thinks these are silly questions, then this video is for you. I have provided real-world examples representing some of the tests that were presented in the self-assessment. So let's get started. Selecting a business partner. Here I plan to show you the significance of the game show example in the self-assessment. Imagine you have to select your ideal business partner from a short list of 3 candidates, Anna, Bella, and Carol. The information you have received about them indicates that only one of them is truly talented, a genius. The other 2 are likely to be problematic, the equivalent of the goats. But you have no way of knowing who the genius candidate is. So you pick Anna as your first choice. However, you realize that since 2 of them are goats, there is a good chance that you picked one of the bad ones, because there is a 67% chance of picking a bad one. But you're not sure. It is simply a matter of probability. 2 times 33.33 is 67%. Then a trusted friend who knows all 3 well says, I can tell you that Carol is definitely not the right person. Now you wonder, in the light of this new information, should you stick with Anna or should you switch to Bella? Well, let's look at it. Now, since your friend said Carol is likely to be a goat, that's a bad candidate, you start thinking, if Anna, the one you pick, is a goat, and you know Carol is also a goat, you must definitely switch to Bella, who has to be the car. Of course, if Bella is the genius, the car, and you know Carol is a goat, you're certain that Anna is also a goat. Hence, you must stick with your original choice. A law firm investigating a contract review. This example ties up with the married and looking example in the self-assessment. A law firm is trying to find out which associates reviewed a contract. There are 3 associates in the firm, Alice, Ben, and Chris. Due to a legal complication, the managing director needs to know if a senior associate passed the contract to a junior associate. And he's told Alice, a senior associate, reviewed the contract before passing it to Ben. And Ben passed it to Chris, who is a junior associate, who reviewed it. What conclusion can the managing director conclude from the above statements? Is it yes? Is it no? Or did they say we need to know Ben's position, whether he is senior or junior? The answer is yes, regardless of Ben's rank. Here's the logic. Yes, Ben's seniority level is unknown, but it does not matter. Why? Because there are only 2 possibilities. Ben is either senior or junior. If Ben is senior, then Ben, senior, passed to Chris, junior. If Ben is junior, Alice, senior, passed to Ben, junior. Now let us consider the blood test example.
You are in excellent health. You have no ailments of any type. However, as a matter of routine, you visit your doctor for your annual physical exam.
Let's do a blood test to see if there might be any issues of concern. I think it is important that we have a baseline. I won't know anything unless we do a blood test.
Doctor, why do I need a blood test? I am perfectly fine.
So reluctantly, you do the blood test. The doctor reviews the results and says,
Jack, the blood test shows that you have high cholesterol.
Are you sure, Doc? Do you trust the results?
Jack, this test has been around for over 100 years and is considered to be 99% accurate. So you can trust the results. However, this nothing serious. About 1 in 1,000 people have this type of ailment. To be on the safe side, I suggest we put you on a low-dose statin drug.
Doc, are there any side effects?
Studies show that in some cases, there is a tendency to increase blood pressure, that is, hypertension. Of course, as you know, hypertension requires regular monitoring, as nearly 50% of all strokes and heart attacks are the result of hypertension. But no worries, we will monitor your blood pressure regularly, and if necessary, we will switch to another brand of statin.
Now you have to make a decision. Should you take the drug? You ponder. How likely is it that you actually do have high cholesterol based on the test? A, less than 10%, B, about 50%, or C, around 90%. Pause the video and take a moment to think whether it's A, B, or C. The correct answer, the likelihood of you having high cholesterol is actually less than 10%, and the doctor wants to put you on drugs on a 10% probability. Of course, you will challenge my claim of less than 10% likelihood. You're likely to say, it is ridiculous to claim that a measurement taken with a 99% accurate test is only 10% likely to be true. What if instead of high cholesterol it was cancer? Would you accept the doctor's recommendation? Probably not. Beware, this has a serious impact on your personal life and even on your family. You can't afford to ignore this. Of course, you will demand that I support my claim of less than 10%. Email me, and I will provide you an irrefutable explanation of my 10% claim.
Takeaways. Every data point has some degree of uncertainty, that is, a probability. When making decisions, we must always consider the probabilities associated with the data. And finally, when considering probabilities, pay attention to event probabilities and impact probabilities.
So what next? Say great message, it was informative and insightful, and then go back to the same old? Well, a friend of ours, Einstein, once said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Every organization has to make routine decisions on recruiting, bid evaluation, procurement, asset allocation, site selection, etc. Even as an individual, you have to make decisions pertaining to careers, education, buying a home or a car, investments, retirement, etc. Decision-making and negotiating skills will save you thousands of dollars in this area. I'm sure some of you will say, I don't have time to learn anything new. I'm very busy. I remind you of the woodchopper who said, I have to get through a lot. I don't have time to sharpen my axe. World-famous guru Marshall Goldsmith wrote a best-selling book which said, what got you here won't get you there. This means you or your company. Life is about knowing what you want, which is decision-making, and getting what you want, negotiating. So these two are vital to your survival. Every action is a decision, and every interaction is a negotiation. In life, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Beware of the triumph of intuition over logic and emotion over intelligence. And never forget that the price has a price always.
I urge you to consider attending our on-demand courses.